So yeah, I am finally back in the workshop after a month of doing game writing, game sounding, and some broadcast work. And interesting projects like this one we're doing today are like buses in a lot of ways. Not audio buses, the first and the stagecoach type. This fun little thing that has landed in my inbox is by Orcs Crafts, and I said, yeah, okay, I'm interested in doing something, a little bit of something from your terrain guides that you're making, you're doing crowdfunding, whatever. Then I looked away from the screen for like an hour, and Marcin, who is running the project, had sent over like 9 emails, and he'd already drafted up like a funky little custom MS Paint's health and safety frog obelisk that you can make on your tabletop. Health and Safety Frog is not entirely aware of what is happening right now. He's giving me the death stare, but I'm pretty sure he's going to enjoy the finished product. The larger project that Marcin and his crew are putting together is essentially tabletop terrain, but it's taking it all back to the fundamental kitchen table Pringles can level of stuff, and trying to get the best results while being arty and crafty and quite budgety. So yeah, this project we're doing today is part of a much larger thing, a much larger project for Marcin and the Orcs Crafts team. And I will be following along pretty much verbatim for the most part. But I'm going to throw a couple of my own like speed tricks in just to get this done. Because all that stuff I mentioned earlier that I was supposed to have finished in January, it ain't finished. And I am getting picked up for a job in 8 hours. So I am just going to crack on. The blueprint for the health and safety shrine I followed pretty closely, but with a different idea for the eyes, which I'm going to come on to at the end. For the base, I'm doing that old Games Workshop Warhammer cardboard base building trick and having a smaller circle inside a larger circle and then using masking tape to add a gradient to the landform and make those edges pretty much bomb-proof. Then another trick that I pulled from a different tutorial, also available as this downloadable webzine thing from Orcs Crafts, was to build your rocks up and then roughly hewn cardboard ovals and circles to make them. I am firing up a second piece of terrain, just using that circle rock idea and building up a small structure, ideally big and flat enough for models and characters to stand and pose on. I suppose that's the benefit of working with sheets of cardboard, is that you're always going to get a reliable flat surface to place things on, to place miniatures on at the end of it. Next up is texturing, and again following the Orcs Crafts guide, we make ourselves some watered down PVA glue. And that instrument of texture is plain old toilet paper, or bog roll if you will. I've not actually done this before, so I went pretty hard in terms of layering and adding even more layers to it. I probably did go a little bit overboard, but you know, each to their own. The key trick is to always make sure that you're aiming to bring back that underlying structure. I'm careful not to let that cardboard skeleton underneath the toilet paper get lost in the mix. To paint these guys, I've got a black base coat of craft paint already down, and now we can start bringing out all those details from the toilet paper that we use for texturing. I start with some dark greys, then I move to a fairly warm mid-grey, and then move to a lighter grey, finishing off the very edges with a light blue-grey. If you've not done overbrushing or dry brushing before, it's a very forgiving technique on terrain. All you do is dip your brush in some paint, get most of it off onto some cardboard, and then pretty much kind of just whip or whisk back and forth across the rocky areas of the piece. Because of this specific brushing action, your brush will only really contact the raised areas of the piece and should highlight your bumps, your nodules and your raised areas, and highlight those in a pretty short space of time. I think this was like 10 minutes work.
Reality exercise bike things, although I think virtual reality is stretching it. Thankfully, the MC
Press-ups, working on the stomach area, working on the shoulders.
Well, this is true, David. You got Ridge Racer. You can't probably see too much of it to get Ridge Racer Revolution. And Ridge Racer Revolution is a lot more difficult than you.
Next up, and it is a bit of a non-essential step, is a brown wash. This is going to bring those highlights down a smidge and tint everything with a brown to kind of unify your colours. I am using Agrax Earthshade from Citadel. That's purely because I've got 8 bottles of it for some reason. But straight out the bottle it is too strong, so as I apply it, I will dunk my brush in my water pot and throw that on, just kind of letting it do its own thing. Final step-ish is to introduce some greenery to it. For this, I've got various different wargaming flocks and some railway stuff and some mixed herbs from various supermarkets. I'm not going to be as wanky here as I've been in the past and previous videos. I'm just going to hit this piece with some neat PVA, then sprinkle the bigger stuff on first, and then the smaller stuff on top of that.
as a team, there were times we were.
It will all feel a little bit loose at this stage, but just don't worry about that. We'll fix that in the next step. Okay, final step that I always do with loose ground cover is to pipette on some rubbing alcohol. Dish soap and water alternatives are available. This soaks everything through but doesn't sit on top and move everything around in the same way that water does. And then I pipette on some very watered down PVA, which will eventually dry with the assistance of a radiator and/or time and lock everything in place to be game ready and gamer proof. Make sure you do both of those steps, the pre-wetting capillary action thing, and then the PVA, or your stuff is going to move around all over the place. Okay, final step that I wanted to add. I wanted to add some jungle gemstones to Hector's eyes, like kind of King Solomon's Mines scary statue stuff. But he did actually end up looking a little bit more like Shadow of the Colossus, maybe, which is pretty top tier for me. So I'm good with that happy accident. Now, if you are interested in what you've seen in this project, the little snippets of the Orcs Crafts stuff, check out the link down below. It is a crowdfunded thing, which obviously everyone's seen before, and it is a crowdfunded thing in a YouTuber's description. This video is not sponsored or anything. They just kind of threw an email my way. I said I'd make something as kind of like a warm-up for me coming back in February, and like I say, he went off the rails and basically made a whole MS Paint's tie-in, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, you've done that now, so I'm going to do my bit. So there we go. Yeah, it is worth your time checking out. It's definitely a fun parent-kid thing, especially. I think I don't have kids. I have a frog and a cat, and I wouldn't trust Health and Safety Frog with anything. But yeah, if that seems like your kind of thing, give it a little look-see and just kind of see what it's all about. Yeah. Anyway, here's the end B-roll to see what it looks like.